Max Verstappen is changing the game in Formula 1, and the question everyone's asking is, how good is he really? From his fearless debut at just 17 to his record-breaking 10-race winning streak in 2023, Max has shown a level of skill, aggression, and racecraft that has taken Red Bull racing to an entirely new level. But before we start breaking down his stats, his style, and his most epic rivalries in F1, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, as it really helps us grow. Max was born to race, coming from a family where speed, competition, and pushing the limits were practically family traditions. His father, Jos Verstappen, was an F1 driver, known for his aggressive driving style. And though he never clinched an F1 championship, he scored 2 podium finishes in his career. Meanwhile, Max's mother, Sophie Kumpen, was a skilled kart racer in her own right, competing against names like Giancarlo Fisichella, Jarno Trulli, and Jensen Button. By the age of 4, Max was already karting under his father's guidance. Jos crafted an intense training program, making sure Max learned every technical aspect of karting. Jos would often make small, unannounced adjustments to the kart setup before sending Max out on the track, forcing him to recognize and adapt to these changes. By the time Max was 7, he was already competing in the Limburg's Kart Championship in Belgium, where he secured 2nd place. In 2006, at just 9 years old, he won his first significant championship in the Belgium Minimax Series with a staggering 990 points. One of the key turning points in Max's karting career came when he joined the CRG factory team in 2010. CRG is one of the top kart manufacturers, and joining their factory team was a massive step forward for the young Verstappen. With CRG's support, Max won the WSK Euro Series in the KF3 category. However, he did not win the KF3 World Cup that year. He finished 2nd to Alexander Albon. By the way, Albon would eventually become his Formula 1 teammate at Red Bull Racing. Max finished 5th in the European Championship and won the WSK Nations Cup, making him one of the hottest prospects in European karting. As Max's success continued to snowball, in 2013, he made history by becoming the youngest driver ever to win the KZ World Championship in karting at the age of 15. This championship win took place in France, where he beat no other but Charles Leclerc. The KZ category is a premier karting class, with karts capable of reaching speeds up to 140 km per hour. These karts lack suspension, so drivers experience all track bumps directly. However, Max's rise in karting wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. Most of his success was about the relentless training and discipline instilled in him by his father. One story that's become almost legendary in F1 circles. After a disappointing performance in a karting event in Italy, Jos left 15-year-old Max at a gas station on their way home from the race. Max's mother eventually came to pick him up, but the message was clear. Jos expected nothing but wins from his son. Jos also provided Max with experiences that most young racers could only dream of. Max would often accompany his father to F1 races, getting an up-close look at the world of professional motorsport. All of these early experiences, the intense training, the technical knowledge, the exposure to F1, and the endless karting battles culminated in 2014, when Max made the jump from karts to single-seaters at the Florida Winter Series. Organized by the Ferrari Driver Academy, the Florida Winter Series served as a proving ground for young drivers. Max competed against several future F1 drivers and showed he could adapt to the demands of single-seater racing with ease. He won races at the Palm Beach International Raceway and Homestead Miami Speedway, proving that his talent wasn't limited to karts. Later, in 2014, Max joined the FIA Formula 3 European Championship, marking his first official step towards F1. Driving for Van Amersfoort Racing, he won 6 races in a row driving at Spa-Francorchamps and Norrisring, finishing the season in 3rd place overall. His aggressive driving style, perfected over the years of karting, began to attract attention from F1 teams. Red Bull's Helmut Marko saw something special in the young Dutch driver, and by August 2014, Max had joined the Red Bull Junior team. Just a few weeks later, it was announced that Max would be driving for Scuderia Toro Rosso in the 2015 F1 season, making him the youngest F1 driver in history at just 17. Max's rapid rise from karting to F1 was unprecedented. He bypassed Formula 2, then GP2, entirely, moving directly from F3 to F1. Some critics question whether he was too young or too inexperienced for the world's premier racing series, but Red Bull had full confidence in his abilities. In his debut season, Max quickly showed that he had no intention of being a backmarker or a passive rookie. Max finished in the points in his 2nd race at the Malaysian Grand Prix and ended up setting another record by becoming the youngest point scorer in F1 history at just 17 years and 180 days old. Throughout the 2015 season, Max showcased a level of racecraft that seemed well beyond his years. He finished the season with 49 points, placing 12th in the driver's standings, an impressive feat by any rookie, let alone one of his age and experience. In 2016, after just 4 races into the season, Red Bull decided to promote Max from Toro Rosso to the main team, replacing Danny Kvyat at Red Bull Racing. This kind of mid-season promotion was almost unheard of, but Red Bull had faith that Max was ready for the challenge. And as it turned out, they were right. In his very first race with Red Bull at the Spanish Grand Prix, Max made history once again. He won the race, becoming the youngest driver ever to win a Grand Prix at just 18 years and 228 days old. Suddenly, Max wasn't just a promising young driver, he was a race winner. The race itself was a showcase of Max's exceptional skill and mental strength. He held off Raikkonen's relentless pressure throughout the final laps, refusing to crack. This wasn't luck or a fortunate strategy call, this was pure driving brilliance. From that point on, Max Verstappen was a driver everyone had to take seriously. His aggressive style, willingness to take risks, and fearless overtaking made him a fan favorite almost instantly. Max had a no-nonsense approach to racing that was both refreshing and thrilling to watch. As the 2016 season progressed, Max continued to impress, finishing on the podium 7 times and ending the year with a total of 204 points, placing him 5th in the driver's standings. I think for a driver in only his 2nd season, and his first with the top team, this was an incredible achievement. By the time he entered the 2017 season, Max wasn't just fighting for points anymore, he was aiming for wins and podiums at every race. That season, Max claimed 2 race wins, one in Malaysia and another in Mexico. The main reason he didn't fully break out that season was due to reliability issues with his car. Red Bull Racing's RB13 was fast, but plagued by mechanical problems. Especially with the Renault power unit, Max suffered multiple retirements due to engine failures, electrical issues, and other technical difficulties, which cost him valuable points and momentum throughout the season. Additionally, Red Bull was in a transitional phase with their car development. While they had a competitive chassis, they were not quite on par with the dominant Mercedes and Ferrari teams. Max finished the season with 168 points and stood 6th in the championship standings, but his performances were often the highlight of the race weekends. The 2018 season began with challenges for Verstappen, and this was probably the first year we're seeing Max actually showing his dangerous side. 2018 saw several early incidents, including collisions with Lewis Hamilton in Bahrain and a clash with Sebastian Vettel in China. This led to criticism about his aggressive style and dangerous driving. Under the tough guidance of his father, Max learned early on that racing is about asserting control, making decisive moves, and above all, not backing down. Jos was known as a hard driver himself, and he instilled that same mentality in Max. His rivals knew that Verstappen would take any opportunity, no matter how risky, if he thinks it will pay off. And most of the time it did. His overtaking maneuvers were often audacious, like his famous late braking moves, which have become his signature. A significant setback came later in the season during the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Tensions ran high in Red Bull. Verstappen's rapid rise in the team began to overshadow his teammate Daniel Ricciardo, creating a rivalry that came to a head in Baku. Both drivers were fiercely competing for position when they collided on the main straight. This incident cost Red Bull a potential double points finish, and it highlighted the growing friction between the two. Ricciardo later admitted that he felt the team was beginning to favor Verstappen, which influenced his decision to leave Red Bull at the end of the season. Ocon, in particular, has had a history of clashes with Verstappen, including the infamous incidents in the 2018 Brazilian Grand Prix. Ocon collided with Verstappen while attempting to unlap himself, which was fairly stupid in my humble opinion. That incident led to a physical altercation in the paddock, but ultimately everyone moved on. Verstappen bounced back mid-season with a newfound consistency, capturing his first victory of the year in Austria, Red Bull's home race. He followed it up with another win in Mexico, showcasing his growing composure and tactical skill. Verstappen ended 2018 with 249 points and 2 race wins, Austria and Mexico, while Red Bull finished 3rd in the Constructors' Championship behind Mercedes and Ferrari. At the end of the season, Red Bull agreed to use Honda engines from 2019 F1 season to end a 12-year deal with Renault, a historical decision for Max. In 2019, Verstappen took another leap forward in his career. He secured his first pole position in Hungary, marking a milestone that underscored Red Bull's progress with their new Honda power unit. With victories in Austria, Germany, and Brazil, Verstappen demonstrated his ability to capitalize on Mercedes' occasional weakness. His strategic thinking was evident at the German Grand Prix, where he navigated chaotic wet conditions to secure a decisive win, outlasting several competitors who struggled on the wet track. Verstappen's consistent podium finishes and improvement in race management saw him finishing 3rd in the driver's standings, positioning him as a leading challenger to Mercedes. This season also solidified Verstappen's reputation as a title contender, with Hamilton and other rivals acknowledging his growing threat. Take, for instance, his unforgettable battle with Charles Leclerc at the 2019 Austrian Grand Prix. Here we saw the full force of Max's aggressive style as he went wheel to wheel with Leclerc in the closing laps. The move that won him the race, forcing Leclerc off the track at turn 3, was controversial to say the least. I was surprised the maneuver was even legal, but Max's mentality was clear. This was racing at its purest. The stewards ultimately sided with him, and he went on to claim victory, proving once again that he was willing to take every risk to get the job done. Verstappen's performance was a clear statement of Red Bull's growth with their Honda partnership. He completed the season with 278 points and 3 wins, while Red Bull once again placed 3rd in the Constructors' standings. In the 2020 season, Max Verstappen was Red Bull's strongest competitor in the race of Mercedes dominance, challenging Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas at almost every opportunity. Although Mercedes' W11 car had a clear performance edge, Verstappen's aggressive driving allowed him to disrupt Mercedes' control over many races, often forcing the team into defensive strategies to fend him off. Verstappen's rivalry with Mercedes became a central narrative throughout the season, foreshadowing the intense championship battle that would unfold in 2021. The 70th anniversary Grand Prix at Silverstone was a highlight, where Verstappen capitalized on tire strategy to beat both Hamilton and Bottas. By extending his first stint on hard tires, while Mercedes struggled with degradation, Verstappen managed to seize control of the race, securing his first win of the season. Another high point came in the season finale at Abu Dhabi, where Verstappen displayed dominance from start to finish. He clinched pole position, controlled the race pace, and at every lap, outclassing Mercedes on a circuit where they typically performed well. However, Verstappen's season was not without setbacks. Mechanical issues and crashes hindered his points tally in races like Austria, where he retired with an electrical issue, and at Monza, where he faced a technical failure. Despite these challenges, Verstappen's consistency remained impressive, as he claimed 11 podiums in the 17 races he finished. Verstappen scored 214 points and secured 2 wins, finishing third in the driver's standings. Red Bull ended the season second in the Constructors' Championship, demonstrating their progress with Honda's improved reliability and power output, and setting the stage for their intense title bid in 2021. The 2021 season was a historic and career-defining year for Max Verstappen. This season featured an intense head-to-head battle with Lewis Hamilton in nearly every race, creating one of the most competitive seasons in F1 history. Hamilton viewed Verstappen's driving approach as excessively aggressive, while Verstappen defended his actions, insisting it was just hard racing. At Silverstone, Verstappen and Hamilton collided on the opening lap, sending Verstappen into the barriers with a high-impact crash. The Monza collision in 2021 became one of the season's defining moments, with Verstappen's car coming to a rest on top of Hamilton's, sparking a global conversation about the limits of aggression and safety in the sport. The rivalry reaches peak in the final race of the 2021 season in Abu Dhabi, with the championship up for grabs. It came down to the last lap in one of the most controversial races in F1 history. On lap 53, Nicholas Latifi's crash prompted the deployment of the safety car. Race director Michael Masi made the decision to allow only the 5-lap cars between race leader Lewis Hamilton and second place Max Verstappen to unlap themselves, rather than all the lapped cars as typically mandated by the regulations. The decision to permit only certain lapped cars to unlap themselves facilitated a direct competition between Hamilton and Verstappen on the final lap, with Verstappen on fresher tires. This move was unprecedented and led to widespread criticism and debate regarding the consistency and fairness of race control decisions. The FIA later acknowledged that human error played a role in the events of the race, but maintained that the race director acted in good faith. Red Bull finished second in the Constructors' Championship, their highest finish since the hybrid era began. While Verstappen's championship win ended Mercedes' 7-year dominance of the driver's title, Verstappen displayed incredible consistency and tenacity throughout, achieving 10 wins and ending the season with 395.5 points, narrowly edging out Hamilton with 387.5 points. After clinching his first title, I wondered if Verstappen could sustain his success or if 2021 was a one-off. The 2022 season quickly put those questions to rest. Verstappen came back stronger than ever, and Red Bull developed a car that was both fast and incredibly reliable. The result? A season of dominance that showed Verstappen's true capabilities when he wasn't battling for every point. Verstappen went on to win 15 of the 22 races in 2022, breaking the record for most wins in a single season, a title previously held by legends like Michael Schumacher and Sebastian Vettel. His winning percentage of over 68% set a new benchmark, and he clinched his second world championship with races to spare. Red Bull's car design allowed Verstappen to maximize his aggressive driving style, while also mastering tire management, enabling him to control races from start to finish. No longer having to take risks every weekend, Verstappen showed he could play the long game. But if 2022 was dominant, then 2023 was historic. Verstappen not only continued his winning ways, but shattered records that many thought were untouchable. He won an astounding 19 out of 22 races, a feat that no other driver had achieved. His consistency, precision, and the sheer gap he maintained over competitors showed that Verstappen had reached a level of mastery rarely seen in F1. Unlike drivers who may wear out their tires with reckless maneuvers, Max has developed a balance that allows him to be aggressive without sacrificing tire life. This skill came to light in the 2023 season, where he frequently pushed his car to the edge without degrading his tires too quickly. The stats from 2023 are staggering. Verstappen managed to break the all-time record for consecutive wins, claiming 10 in a row, a record previously held by Sebastian Vettel with 9. He also ended the season with the highest ever points tally, setting a new standard for championship performance. This season highlighted how Verstappen had not only mastered his car, but had unparalleled synergy with his Red Bull team. One key element of Verstappen's 2023 success was his ability to keep his cool and avoid mistakes, a stark contrast to his earlier risk-heavy style. It was a season that not only solidified his position as the best driver of his generation, but also sparked conversations about his place in F1's history. The 2024 season has seen Verstappen continue to dominate, but in increasingly challenging circumstances. The FIA and other teams have been working to close the gap to Red Bull, but Verstappen's skill have proven to be a step above. For example, starting from 17th on the grid in Brazil, Verstappen carved his way through the field, showcasing his ability to perform under pressure. It was one of his finest performances, marking not only his first win after a 10-race winless streak, but also a defining moment of the season. Wet weather added another layer of complexity, yet Verstappen made his way to the front with ease, reinforcing his reputation as a driver who thrives when others falter. This victory widened his lead over the field, putting him in reach of a 4th world championship. It was also a statement that Verstappen wasn't slowing down, even with competitors breathing down his neck. Take Verstappen's friend from McLaren, Lando Norris, for example. During the 2024 Mexican Grand Prix, Max Verstappen was engaged in an intense battle with McLaren's Lando Norris, resulting in 2 penalties for the Red Bull driver. The first incident happened at turn 4, when Norris attempted an outside pass. Verstappen defended his position aggressively, and in doing so, forced Norris off the track, which the stewards deemed a violation. According to the FIA's International Sporting Code, drivers are required to leave sufficient racing room, especially when their rival has part of their car alongside them. The second penalty came at turn 8, when Verstappen once again engaged in a defensive maneuver. This time, he took an inside line but overshot the corner slightly, which forced Norris off the track again. The stewards judged this as Verstappen retaining an unfair advantage, ruling it as a violation of Article 2C. Both penalties combined dropped Verstappen from podium contention down to a 6th place finish. The controversy deepened when fans and analysts highlighted the backgrounds of 2 stewards involved in issuing Verstappen's penalties, Johnny Herbert and Tim Mayer. Herbert, a former British F1 driver and current Sky Sports commentator, has been noted for his ties to the British racing community. Mayer, on the other hand, is the son of Teddy Mayer, co-founder of McLaren, Norris's team. These details led to questions regarding potential biases in stewarding decisions, with many speculating that these ties might have influenced the severity of Verstappen's penalties. Christian Horner, Red Bull's team principal, defended Verstappen, arguing that Norris's own positioning contributed to the incidents and that the penalties were overly harsh. This incident reignited discussions whether certain drivers are treated differently, or is the FIA just trying to create controversy for the clicks and media attention? I'm sure as the season goes on, we'll see more clashes between Lando and Max. It's now Verstappen's turn to protect his legacy from a young contender, just like Lewis Hamilton 5 years before him. Verstappen's success has turned him into a national hero in the Netherlands, inspiring a new generation of Dutch fans and even leading to the creation of an F1 fanbase known as the Orange Army. This passionate fan group, recognizable by their orange attire, follows Verstappen to races around the world, cheering him on from the stands and adding a vibrant Dutch presence to F1 events. The Orange Army's enthusiasm has helped increase F1's popularity in the Netherlands and contributed to Verstappen's image as a unifying figure for Dutch sports fans. One of the unique aspects of Verstappen's brand is his connection to the esports and gaming world, which has grown massively in recent years. Max is not just a casual gamer, he's serious about racing simulators and even competes in virtual racing events even before his actual races. Verstappen's involvement in sim racing, combined with his on-track success, has positioned him as a bridge between F1 and digital racing. This has resonated particularly well with younger audiences, many of whom are introduced to racing through video games and simulators before becoming full-fledged F1 fans. Max Verstappen's career is proof that greatness in Formula 1 often comes with a fair share of conflict. These conflicts haven't just been distractions, they've become essential parts of his story. Verstappen's legacy is tied to his ability to confront controversy, and betting only on himself. However, Red Bull is betting hard on Max too. Unlike eras where teams shifted focus to multiple drivers, Red Bull's strategy is clear: support Verstappen in every way possible. Even if that means sacrificing the success of other Red Bull drivers, Red Bull focuses entirely on maximizing Verstappen's performance, and Max has been able to evolve from a hot-headed prodigy to a calculated, almost invincible champion. Team principal Christian Horner and Red Bull's engineering mastermind Adrian Newey have created an environment where Verstappen's strengths can flourish. This alignment has made Red Bull a powerhouse, and Verstappen its undisputed star. Any bets how many years Verstappen and Red Bull duo is gonna last? Write your predictions down below, and thanks for watching. Subscribe!